It's the Underpowered Hour. On this week's show, JLR might make Chinese cars in the UK. We've got some updates on what's going on in the workshop. And then, Land Rovers in the movies, Clarkson's farm. And now, without further delay, here's the show. Welcome to the Underpowered Hour. I'm the leaky sunroof to Ike's leaky windshield. I'm the damp leg of podcasting, Steve Beres. You can find out more about our cars and what we're working on at theberescollection.com or follow us on Instagram at theberescollection. I'm joined, as always, by my good friend, Ike Goss.
Thank you to everyone joining us today. I own and operate Pangolin 4x4 in Springfield, Oregon, where we live and breathe Land Rovers. Check us out online on Facebook, Instagram at Pangolin 4x4. Let's get started.
All right, Ike. Well, this week in the news, I imagine, coinciding with Sir Keir Starmer's visit to the People's Republic of China, UK factories could build Chinese cars. The Jaguar Land Rover company has apparently indicated that the old JLR might start pumping out Chinese cars. Now, do you think that means that Solihull could start pumping out Yangwangs?
I think that's a possibility. It's interesting. I didn't realize that Jaguar Land Rover had all this surplus production capacity.
I guess
thought
so.
They were, cranking out Land Rovers and amping up for the new Jaguar unveiling and release.
I guess there's always a little bit of room in the back, I guess, for a few Yangwangs.
For a few, I feel like the vehicles they're talking about producing there are like entry-level market cars, right?
Yeah.
And so those would be like volume production.
Yeah, volume production cars, which isn't really what Jaguar Land Rover is known for.
No, pretty interesting, but also I'm sure it short circuits a number of various taxes and tariffs and duties and all that sort of thing.
I guarantee you. It's funny, this last week during the Davos, Switzerland, get-together of financial people, Mark Carney, Prime Minister of Canada, and not Mr. Trump's favorite guy, apparently, they have announced that they are going to drop the tariff significantly on Chinese vehicles as well and start bringing those into Canada, which means soon you may be able to get the new Cherry Freelander in Canada and in the UK, which would be crazy.
That would be interesting. It would also be the corollary to that is, you mentioned that the Freelander is going to be a Cherry Motors vehicle with a Land Rover badge, but it's also potentially going to be made in the UK.
In the UK.
So it's like a Chinese car made by Land Rover with a Land Rover name.
Tape back on books again.
I don't know,
really
man. It's human sacrifice, cats and dogs living together, mass hysteria.
It is a crazy world out there. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I think that, the idea of a high volume vehicle, in that world, I guess, I don't entirely understand the partnership with a Chinese company to produce a Land Rover badged vehicle, unless it's like, you know what, they're just going to abandon this whole trying to electrify, and they're just going to buy it in from a third party and just call it a day. Because as we know, JLR's number one thing is the design work of His Majesty Jerry McGovern, and who may or may not work there. May or not work there. We don't know.
Schrodinger's head of design.
That's exactly right. He is both fired and not fired at the same time. But they have obviously a Freelander pedigree that matched by none. So if you're going to do it, that's kind of where you do it, right?
I'm excited to see the new Freelander project.
Me too.
I know you want one, whatever it is.
I kind of do. I don't even care what it is at this point. You don't care what
it is, just says Freelander on it.
It just says Freelander. I got Freelander fever, man. A lot of people do, Apparently, though, it's going to be based on, because there's some more information that's coming out about that as well, it's going to be based on Cherry's T1X platform, which is, again, I think, maybe they're just buying in the platform to be able to say, we've got an electric vehicle. As electric vehicles have been largely made illegal here in the United States, we're looking to other countries now to promote the electric car. Canada's tough. It had, a lot of people point to Canada as the failure for the F-150 because the F-150 Lightning, because its cold weather performance, not just the battery performance, but the heat exchanger in it is not up to snuff for the wintry weather of Canada. So I've never had a problem with it here because I live in California. It's never below 40. So it's never really been a big deal. But I guess there is a lot of criticism for the Lightning around its shit ability to heat up.
Well, not anymore. They're not going to make it. So
not making them anymore. They're transitioning the platform. Really, the latest thing I've heard on that, side note, is that they're going to take the frunk out of it, right? Obviously, you need a place to put a small engine, but they're going to largely keep the battery capacity, the full independent suspension, the electric drivetrain is going to stay intact, but they're going to add a gasoline engine on top of that package. I wish that it was a diesel, but whatever. They're going to add a gasoline engine on top of that package so that you'll have upwards of 1,000 miles of range in an F-150, not Lightning. Gas Lightning. Grease Lightning. They were going to do a what they were going to call it something. Like they were going to do a Raptor version of the Lightning.
Okay.
And it was going to be called something like Electric Raptor something sounding, but not Electric Raptor. I don't know, Velociraptor or something. That's also canceled. And they were going to take the limiters off of the motors because they're limited to, a certain amount of torque and speed and stuff right now, but they were going to apparently just get rid of that. So you could go like 1,000 miles an hour in your Lightning for, I imagine, for 10 minutes, but whatever,
Can't imagine. I can't see any problem with that.
No, it's going to be great. But it would be cool to have Raptor suspension on the Lightning because it's independent suspension, all four wheels. So it'd be really cool. It is like a trophy truck, Cool. No solid rear axle. So it'd be kind of
electric trophy truck.
Whoa. Super cool.
Just what your teenager needs.
Exactly. Wrap themselves thoroughly around a light pole or tree. Be good.
So you've got the Freelander fever. I hear they're working on a vaccine for that.
Yeah, but RFK Jr. says just take a bunch of cod oil or cod livers directly from the cod.
Oh, man.
That's how he does it. Yeah.
Just squeeze a cod and you're
Squeeze
good.
a cod into your mouth and that will get rid of your Freelander fever. But no, I'm happy to have it. I think a great car and I'm glad to see it coming back as a Chinese knockoff official license.
We need to get our good friend Mr. Nick Dimbleby on the program to talk about his Freelander through India trip.
Ever. Oh, I'm going to reach out to him.
Yeah, you better do it.
Yeah, I'll be there next week, and I will
be in India.
Be spending time. Yeah, no,
okay,
in the UK.
I see.
But who knows where Nick is? He could be anywhere. He could be right here. He could be in this room for all I know. I didn't. He's still.
He just sent me a picture of you.
Did he?
Through the window.
That's my hobby is photos of Nick Dimbleby. I'm going to release a coffee table book called The Casual Dimbleby. And that's just going to be pictures of Nick, just being Nick, just being around, just being there. Yeah, it's going to be real good. Well, speaking of which, what's going on in the old 4x4 workshop up there in beautiful Eugene, Oregon? I hear the latest spot for ice attention. You're going to get is Pangolin planning to be rated? Or are they going to, that's probably number one on the list.
I have no doubt.
Yeah.
I have no doubt they'll be executing a warrantless warrant in no time.
Yeah.
No, we have been up to our eyeballs in Land Rovers. We've had a lot of visitors in the last week. I can't tell you how many exactly. It's all been a blur, but some folks from the East Coast and some folks from up and down the West Coast have been stopping by to pick up parts, work on their own projects, check out our projects. So that's been real fun to connect with some owners. We had a fellow stop by yesterday and the day before that, and a lady the day before that, and two the previous day. So they're coming in droves, and that's good. I'm excited that people are working on their cars. I feel like wintertime is one of the peak times to get those little projects done before spring rolls around. You really want to use your car, and then you don't quite get it done, and spring turns into summer, and summer turns into fall, and
then you're back to winter again and back at working on that project. That's perfect.
Back at it. So it's been really good. We've also had some vehicles dropped off. I think there were 3 or 4 this week that were dropped off from various customers. We got an 80-inch from Tennessee, a 1951.
Nice. Ooh, my favorite.
Yeah, it's actually a car that was delivered new to Vancouver, BC, and made its way to Tennessee. And the owner there has had several Land Rovers, and it's acting up. And so he sent it to us to do some service work on the transmission, and it arrived, and of course it needs a lot. The brakes are pretty well non-existent, and for some reason at some time in its life a section of the chassis had been cut to probably accommodate a different aftermarket master cylinder. And then somebody else came along and was like, oh, we need to put that back. And so they cut a section out of another frame and scabbed it on to the original frame. So he's, just, do the brake job on the car. And we were like, well, It's not quite that simple because this has all been modified and so forth, and it'll be expensive to fix. So it's
one of those
snowballing.
You want to make sure you have good brakes.
It's one of those cars it's got a lot of good elements, but it's like fundamentally lacking. So it's got a really nice rust-free chassis, nice rust-free bulkhead. It's got a rebuilt engine that actually runs really well.
Oh, nice.
But it has like the worst steering and brakes that have never been maintained or rebuilt in its 75-year existence. So it is just horrible to drive and very unsafe because of those issues. So it needs the rest, sort of.
You got to have everything done.
You got to have the total package. But
I'm relocating my 80-inch to the Warner Brothers lot full time. And instead of driving my golf cart. Just driving the 80-inch. Yeah, because it would just be so much fun to just have it at the lot all the time. But we'll see. Maybe.
Would you drive it more now then, or would you drive it?
It's hard to say. I mean, I drive it almost all the time on the weekends, so it's tough to say. I don't really drive around the lot all that much, but I have a feeling I would start. I just drive over to lunch. I drive to meet things I don't need to drive to. I would just do it because
you would just do it. Yeah, well, if they'll let you, I would do it. Well, you're in charge, right? And the head of parking and stuff.
Chris Dane Owens, our head of parking, is a very good friend. He's also a musician and filmmaker. And,
he is for sure.
You should go onto the YouTube right now, and you should look up Chris Dane Owens' work. And man, if you're into fantasy rock, I can't describe it. You kind of have to, it's like The Matrix. You have to experience it for yourself.
Yeah, fantasy rock opera. That's probably
it's a fantasy rock opera. That's fair. Yeah, that's a good way to do it. And anyways, Chris is the nicest guy in the world, and he runs all of the vehicle stuff at the Warner Brothers lot here in Burbank, which is quite a job. It's quite a job.
You got to contact an in.
No problem at all. I can easily park whatever I want there. There's no problem. He and my daughter Cooper is his biggest fan in the world, and
it's not true.
Every time I go
to
I
am the biggest.
That's true. Ike is probably second biggest fan. Second biggest fan. It's good stuff. Good stuff. Remember, Ike, love has enemies.
Does. So we've got that Series 1 in the workshop right now. We're evaluating all of the things that it needs, So, but it's a cool truck. It's a US spec 52 actually. So, and it's I guess not technically US spec, but North American spec. 52. Which is a rare thing. They only made a
2-liter
200 and it still has the 2-liter Siamese bore in it. So it's a neat little thing. And then we got 2 more cars from Colorado that showed up to the workshop. A 1956 Series 1 86-inch.
Nice.
And
big fan of that as well.
And a 1963, I want to say, 109. And the 109 is pretty interesting. It has some unique features. It's an unusual color for a U.S. model in that it's mid-gray. So the inside, it was originally mid-gray. I think the outside's been redone in limestone, but it was originally a mid-gray car. And it was also, it's got the Carewagon badging on it. It was a Carewagon originally.
Oh, cool.
So it's left-hand drive. It has a Kodiak Mark IV heater. It has a lot of Carewagon features. It's got the, the sink and the stove and the little cabinets in the back.
But it's missing the roof.
It had the roof with the owner, but it was difficult to ship. So the roof is still at the previous owner's place right now. We're working out how to get the roof here. But an interesting thing about it is it also, in addition to the Carewagon badging, it has Dormobile badging, and it has Dormobile front seats and some other little Dormobile features. It has the curtains that go around the outside, and it has some interesting stuff like that. So we don't know its history, and like I said, it's a U.S. spec car.
So
and
what you're
has
saying
US
is it's
spec lighting.
It's a Dormowagon.
It's a Dormowagon.
Whoa.
And, we're debating on what to do with it. And it has a Rover V8 in it, which is kind of interesting. So
it's got a little bit of everything.
It's wild. I really want to look up the VIN number because I don't know what its history is, whether it was home market delivery and they had it converted or what's going on with it. But it has some really unique, interesting features. It has the screens over the, side glass, for camping. And it has some hooks for awnings and stuff. But the badging on it, it's got a lot of interesting badging. There's probably 4 or 5 Carewagon badges, a Dormobile badge, Land Rover badging, station wagon badging, lots of special badging.
It's got it all. Well, that sounds really interesting. I love a
nice.
Carol wagon. I wonder what the condition of that roof is. And
some of the pieces, like new seals and wood and stuff, came with the car.
Oh.
And the roof itself is in Colorado. We're working on how to get that back. But we also have a Dormobile top that we could put on it to sort of complete the Dormo wagon conversion. And it would be a really interesting car. So
the Pangolin 4x4 Dormo wagon.
Yeah, it's a neat one. We're going to do some research and figure out if it has any special, interesting, fabulous history. Yeah. And then the 86-inch is also an interesting one. I've known this car for most of my adult life. It is a car that was kind of put together by a Land Rover enthusiast named Tom Backey. I'm probably pronouncing his name wrong. But he's in Pennsylvania, and he put this car together. He's been working on Land Rovers and messing around with Land Rovers since I was in high school. I can remember he had a car for sale. I can remember emailing him or calling him and asking for pictures of this car that he had for sale that I saw an advertisement for somewhere. And he sent me printed photos, in the mail, of the car. That was kind of before email photos were really a thing. So if you wanted to buy a car that was not close by, they would send prints, send photos to you. So Tom's been at it for forever, and he put this car together a long time ago, and it's a little bit of a Bitza. It's got some Series 2A axles. It's got a 2A transmission. It's got an Ashcroft high ratio transfer case.
Oh, cool.
It's got a 2.5 liter naturally aspirated diesel. It scoots right along. It's kind of neat. It's bronze green with a soft top, but it has some original nice little details. It's got some the pork pie taillights. It's got original pork pies. It's got some nice things. It's got a stainless tank. It's got XCLs. It's got one of our bumpers on the front with an 8274 winch. It's got some nice things, so it's cool. The previous owner that I got it from, not Tom, but Mike in Colorado, he kind of used it on trails in the greater Colorado area. So it's a veteran, and I love it. It's great. So I'm excited to do some service work on that and drive it around and have fun with it.
Ooh, that sounds super cool. I love a sweet Pangolin bumper with a cool Warren winch on it.
I'm a big fan.
I'm a big fan. Does the red winch that is sort of I don't want to say a clone because it's not even remotely, but does it fit that stacked winch that they make? Does it fit in that bumper? I imagine it does, right?
I believe those red winches use the same 4.5 by 10 bolt pattern. I haven't mounted it to the winch because I don't know if the dimension, the depth is the same as the 8274, but theoretically it would bolt on. Yes, I believe so.
Oh, cool. That'd be neat. I want to get one of those red winches for the Defender 90.
Well, our good friend Ralph Sarek sells those things. So
dude, they're so cool.
Better get one. Yeah, they have pneumatic free spools and lots of neat features, dual motors, and you don't even really need an engine if you have one of those winches. You can
you just winch yourself
hook it
everywhere
to where you're going and then just
pull yourself there. Yeah. Yep, exactly. Yeah, you get enough batteries, you'd be fine. No.
There's just a snatch block at every turn.
I want to put a winch onto my Lightning. Not because I need to, or there even really has a purpose for it. I just think it'd be kind of fun because it's a battery car. So I could winch infinitely when I run out of battery. It'd be amazing.
Forever.
Except weighs 900,000 pounds. So
unless it's cold out.
This is cold, then you can't do it,
Then you can't do it.
Yeah, you can't do it if it's cold.
Did I tell you my friend bought an electric car?
Oh, yeah?
He's really pretty upset about it, actually. Okay. So he bought a Subaru electric car. I don't know the model, but he lives in the Olympic Peninsula, and he moved up there to kind of, get away from it all in retirement sort of thing. But a lot of his friends still live in Portland, so he was like, oh, I'll just get an electric car. It'll be an economical way to go see my friends.
It's true.
And it's 250 miles or somewhere in there away. So it's kind of at the outside of the range of most electric vehicles. So he was like, no problem, I'll just charge it up along the way. I'm retired. I'm not in a hurry, et cetera, et cetera. Right. Yep. So he gets a Subaru. He tells the Subaru dealer, this is what I want to do, and they're like, oh, this is a great car for that. So they sell him this car, and he's, oh, awesome. I'm gonna drive down to Portland. So he gets in his Subaru, and he gets whatever halfway there, and I'm gonna stop and plug it in and go shopping and et cetera, et cetera. So he gets to one of these fast charger places, and it's not compatible with the car. It apparently only slow charges. So instead of taking like 30, 40 minutes or whatever, it takes 4 days or something crazy. So he's like, this is not going to work.
I'm not that retired. Nobody's that retired.
Yeah, maybe there's like a software update or some kind of upgrade. So he goes back to the Subaru dealership and he's like, hey, I explained what I was doing with this car and it's not working for that. I need fast charger compatibility. And they're like, oh no, this car does not have fast charger compatibility. This is the only charging that's available for it. And he's, well, it's not gonna work. It's not fit for the purpose that I told you that I was going to use it for. And they were like, well, we could buy it back for $11,000. So he's understandably extremely mad.
That I don't blame him. Charging, when you do, the Lightning has 350 miles on it, so you got to go pretty far. But the ability to plug it in and in 25 minutes at a Tesla supercharger is where I do charge mine. It's back to 90% and you're good to go. You got another 200 miles. So it's really, that is a totally reasonable thing to do, but you do have to have DC fast charging on your car. Otherwise, it's just not tenable.
It's not. No, it's just sort of an around town,
It's funny because I think a lot of traditional brands like Subaru and stuff that like barely make electric cars, I don't know that their sales staff is necessarily educated in a way where they're going to say, oh, listen, that's really not going to work to you. Or it was close to the end of the month and they just need to sell another car.
Yeah, I'm not sure that any sales staff is educated enough to be like, yeah, that's not the car for you. They're going to be like, that's the one.
Yeah, it's the guy. There you go. I just don't think there's such a thing as educated sales staff anymore. Here, certainly not in this country because of conglomerate auto ownership. In the UK and stuff, there's still great, like little independent family-run dealerships and things with people that know what they're talking about. In fact, I would say most other countries, that's how it works. Here in the United States, though, it's like everything's owned by AutoNation. And so, we're lucky enough to have the Galpin folks here, and Bo Bachman's family has owned that dealership since it opened in the 20s or something. So they've been selling Fords and Land Rovers and Jaguars and all this sort of stuff for forever. And it's great, but that is a very rare thing to have a dealership that isn't owned by some conglomerate and the salesman you're talking to is selling, Range Rovers today, but they were selling Kias yesterday. So
and don't get me wrong, it is hard to be up on all of the features of a new automobile, but you got to be able to at least look it up.
You got to know. Well, not anything nearly as Land Rover related here in California, but today is Laser Maintenance Day, and actually a little upgrade. We're doing an upgrade as well.
Is this a hair removal situation?
This is, yeah. So it's my Brazilian waxing laser removal machine. We've set up a little business here in the back of the workshop. So if you're, interested in removing any unsightly hair, we can help you out there. But we use it to cut, wood, plastic. We do a lot of that sort of engraving work for the camera house. It'll engrave onto aluminum and stuff like that. It also, man, you want to clean rust off something real quick. It works super good for that.
Can you fit a Land Rover in it?
You can. You just drive it through. It's going to pass through. You just drive it right through. Yeah. But we're going to set up the autofocus on it today. And it's interesting how the autofocus works. So the lasers work by cutting, but because their lenses are elliptical, they only cut in a very narrow band, right? So a little bit too high or a little bit too low, you're not doing anything, right? You're just making light on the surface of the thing because its cutting aperture is below.
Sure, it's
above,
it's like a magnifying glass where you're trying to fry an ant. It only works at a
Yep. That's exactly what it is, right? It's concentrating all that laser energy and it's poking it down into the thickness of a human hair. The kerf on it is insanely like sub-millimeter. And in order to do that, it has to be exactly like within a half a millimeter, 7 millimeters away from the material that you're cutting. And so the way that some clever lads have figured out how to autofocus is by using a touch probe. And essentially, you attach the touch probe to the cutting head of the laser, and it comes down and it just pokes the surface and reads the depth of its poking so that it knows exactly, based on all the stuff that you've set up, because you need to measure, you need to put measurement blocks and stuff under it when you're calibrating it. It knows exactly how far away from the material it is, and all it does is move the table that the material is sitting on up and down with a servo motor.
Before the program, you said you were setting up this autofocus system, and you said that it is not how you would expect it to work.
Yeah,
and
is that expected to work?
That is exactly what I pictured, is that it just had a stick, and it just poked it with a stick, and that doesn't sound overly complicated.
Yeah, it's essentially the stick as well as essentially just a limit switch. Right? I mean, that's basically all it is. It's just in pencil form, but it's a limit switch. And then at the bottom of the table, there's a Hall effect limit switch, which is just like a magnetic limit switch. And so it can't drive the table through the bottom of the machine, and it can't drive the laser up or the table up through the laser head. And that's really it. I mean, it's pretty simple. They seem really complicated because they're obviously cutting with lasers and all that sort of stuff. But when it comes down to it, it's just like a bunch of limit switches and servos. And
it's literally the way that we've been determining the distance something is from us without touching it. Poke
it with a stick. Exactly. Yeah, it's just a very high tech poking with a stick. So got to get the stick installed, got to get some different limit switches installed across the whole machine, or upgrading limit switches, and also servicing it, because as you can imagine, if atomize wood with light, the sawdust that creates is like the finest, like burnt sand sort of stuff, and it kind of gets into everything.
It's good for you though, right?
It is. No, you want to breathe it directly in. You want to.
So what do you use for ventilation in that setup?
So we actually have a closed system. It goes from inside the laser via an exhaust, pretty high pressure exhaust fan. If you put a piece of paper on it, it'll hold it down to the table. So a pretty high exhaust fan directly into the intake of one of the Land Rovers, and that just burns it. It's fine. It just comes out as clean exhaust.
It's like wood gas, like that they used to use during the war to run engines when they didn't have gasoline. You just run all your Land Rovers off of laser fumes. Yeah, no, it goes through a stack of filtration. So it's got a HEPA filter. It's got a heavy carbon, like quite a giant carbon block, and then HEPA filtration on either side. So once it's gone through that air reclaimer, air purifier, comes out clean on the other side. But we're running a Land Rover in the shop indoors with the doors closed just across the way. So that's what's killing us, not the laser cutter. I'm not surprised.
Just the general off-gassing from an old Land Rover.
What sort of Land Rover stuff were you making with your laser?
We do a fair amount of little engravings and brackets and things. A lot of stuff for the rally cars, the panels that go into the dash to hold all the special Terra Trip and all that kind of stuff. And if you don't have a Series 2A Land Rover, where apparently the bolt spacing for the dash is exactly the width of a Terra Trip, which I think is
close.
It is. It's pretty fun. It's like almost like it was designed that way 30 years before the Terra Trip came out. We do a lot of that sort of stuff. We do a lot of, glass etching and stuff like that. And then we do a lot of stuff for the camera house. So a lot of everything in a camera house has to have our logo and a barcode on it. And so a lot of things get that laser engraved on it, so that when it gets stolen and sent to Russia, they appreciate our logo.
Love it.
That's pretty much it. And then we're looking at a mill. We're looking at a CNC mill. Little one, not a big one. Probably a Tormach.
Oh, yeah. Nice. Yeah. I've read a little bit about those. Those look pretty fun.
People seem to like them. They're the right size for our shop and the size of things that we make, right? That's the biggest thing with the CNC. If you can get away with something the size of a playing card, you can get a really cheap CNC. But as soon as you go slightly bigger than that, it's a whole new ball game. So the Tormach's pretty good. It's about a sheet of paper you can mill in a Tormach, like cubular. So you can do, I think, 8 by 8 in a Tormach, which is actually an enormous volume for milling something that's going to be big. But that just lets us, and that's mostly for the shop where we're making
it's a
custom
reasonable
plates
envelope, for machining stuff.
Huge,
but
huge.
There's not a drastic jump between those kinds of machines and like a full size machine.
That's
at
right.
a certain point.
Yeah, it's just you go up
you're
pretty
actually
quick.
Paying for the compactness at one stage,
That's exactly right. Yeah, I think the Tormach is at the top of what you would consider a small shop machine. Mm-hmm. Like it does everything a Haas does. It has tool changers. It's got everything, and you pay certainly for that, for the convenience of having that. You can get a cheaper machine, but the problem for us is we wouldn't have a place to put a Haas, even if we wanted one. You could almost get a Haas. They're making a more small shop one now that doesn't have all the super high-end features. The problem is, though, the amount of three-phase that you need for it, plus they're 600 volts three-phase machines, which is hard to get in a shop like mine, unless it's a standalone industrial building. You don't really have that. Or any industrial building in Canada, they all have 600 volts. It's just, I don't know why.
Everything's better up there.
Everything's better in Canada.
I don't know why you moved down here.
I don't know either. Oh, it's minus 45 at home right now.
That's not great. It's not great.
Anyways, so there's that. Speaking of massive industrial operations, we've got a Land Rover in the movies. And this week, it's none other than the world-famous Top Gear and Grand Tour host, Jeremy Clarkson, and his great little show, Clarkson's Farm. I don't know if have you seen the Clarkson's Farm?
I have seen exactly one season of Clarkson's Farm, and you told me that there are now 4 seasons.
There's 4.
So I kind of watched an episode, and basically it's Jeremy pretending to be an idiot. I don't know whether he actually doesn't know what he's doing or whether he... Yeah, I'm not sure.
I don't know either. Hard to say.
It's hard to say. They're definitely.
I think sometimes he's genuinely an idiot. Sometimes it's just for the. It
seems a little exaggerated, to be honest. But they've got a good cast of characters. With he's got this young fellow that's helping him on the farm, and he's kind of plays the straight man. He's Jeremy. You're doing everything wrong. This is really dumb. This is how you do it.
Yeah.
I can't believe you did that.
Yes.
It's going to cost us $1 million.
Making fun of him. He's got another. Like a smart guy that like plans out all of his stuff and everything. But most importantly, he has 2 very famous vehicles that have become now very famous vehicles. One is his Lamborghini tractor. A lot of people don't know that Lamborghini, it's not the same Lamborghini, but it is the same Lamborghini. They license the Lamborghini name and the bull from the Lamborghini car company, and it's actually a German tractor manufacturer, I can't remember the name of them, that manufactures these tractors, and they still made them up until 2022, I think. They don't make them anymore.
Now, I thought, maybe I'm wrong, is that the Lamborghini made tractors prior to making cars.
That's
it
how
was
they started.
An Italian firm, right?
That's right. Yeah.
And there was some sort of insult or something from Ferrari about engineering, and he was like, I'm going to make my own car.
Yep.
But this could be an urban legend. And then he made his own
There's
car.
a movie about it. There's a movie about it.
Is there?
There is. And it's got the guy who played the Punisher, recent Punisher. I can't remember who he is, but what his name is.
John Bernthal or
something like that. Yeah. And that's the story. That's how it goes. Is he went to Ferrari and said, "Hey, Ferrari, I make this, your cars are amazing. I love your cars, but this thing is wrong with them, and I have solved it on my tractors, and you should really use that." And Ferrari's, "Get out of here, Lamborghini. You're a goofy Lamborghini guy."
Now, did
and then
Ferrari
Lamborghini's
make
like,
tractors?
"No, they never. They made motorcycles before. Ferrari's brother Enzo's brother made motorcycles for a little while before the war." But
Made tractors.
Porsche made tractors.
Now, according
I think
to
they
this,
all kind of started, like in Italy, they all started making tractors at one point. Maybe Ferrari did make a tractor.
According to this, there are Ferrari tractors. Now, whether it's related, I don't know.
Well,
But
it could be because there's the other Ferrari that made motorcycles that was like, not a brother, maybe a cousin. I'm not sure. The Ferrari motorcycle is somehow related to the Ferrari car, but it is not Enzo Ferrari. It's not that side of the family. They very well may have made tractors at some point. That'd be cool.
1954. But distinct from the sports car maker, pioneered small, specialized Italian agricultural machinery.
I love it. Italy still makes a tractor. I can't remember the name of it.
They have a rich history of making tractors. I learned a little bit about it when I considered buying a Moto Agricola. There was one for sale here locally. A Moto Agricola, if you're not familiar, is like a tractor in the front and sort of like a pickup box in the back. And this one had
of tractors.
It is. Yeah. It's a business in the front, party in the back.
Yeah.
It's articulated. Had locking differentials, had a little diesel in it. It's 4-wheel drive, and that's kind of the pattern for a lot of Italian tractors.
Right,
is the 4-wheel drive, articulated, diesel compact tractor, and the number of them were made. Pascali is one brand. Cast is another brand. Yeah, and then of course Ferrari and Lamborghini and others have made similar pattern tractors. You don't see that style of tractor much in the United States. But
made the first Fendt tractors were the opposite of that. They were a pickup truck in the front and tractor in the back. And they were the thing that got German farmers off of using horses, because the German farmer did not like the idea of a pickup truck, of a tractor. But then after the war, everyone moved into factories. And the factory jobs were just better, and so the labor disappeared, and farmers couldn't work without 500 people like picking crops, and so that's what gave rise to Fendt. And Fendt is probably the most advanced tractor manufacturer in the world now. It's like the Mercedes of tractors. It's really
Holder tractors, the German ones, those also have that kind of style where they're four-wheel drive articulated, you know, little diesel.
Fendt Holder, there's a JCB that's articulated, and now, of course, all the John Deeres and everything. The really big guys have to be articulated because of the size of the implements.
Yeah, but these are small.
Yeah, it's cool. Little tiny guys are really cool. I like a tiny tractor.
Well, we got to do a whole episode on tractors now.
That's not even the car we're talking about. That Lamborghini tractor is now on display at Jeremy Clarkson's pub. If ever you're in the Oxfordshire.
If he still has a farm, why is it on display?
Because he got a new tractor. He got a Fendt actually, and he
is that a spoiler?
also has. It is a spoiler, big spoiler. He has the famous Jeremy Clarkson L322 Range Rover, which is. A lot will say
it's famous from being on the show. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, it's famous for being on the show.
I see.
Yeah, it's Jeremy's favorite Range Rover. I think a lot of people would agree with that. It's the classic, sort of British racing green or whatever you would call it, something like that. So, and it's a mainstay in his show, right? This 2007 maybe. And he does everything from hauling bees around in it to hauling chickens to hauling. I think at one point there was he had like fish or something that were in like tanks or something sloshing around back there. All kinds of stuff he's done to this poor Range Rover. And it's like a farm. It's probably the farmiest Range Rover there is, But he does all kinds of stuff with it. Takes pigs around and stuff. And so there
and
you
go. Do you think he does that when they're not filming?
I think he does. I think he does not. I think this is his Range Rover that he drives around the estate. Now, he's got some insane cars, right? He also has some of the cars from the Grand Tour. So he's got, and I think it was an off-road Aston Martin or something or whatever he's been driving. He's been seen driving that around. But for the most part, it's this L322 Range Rover. And it just goes to show you, it's got the diesel V8 in it, which unfortunately we never got here. But very reliable, apparently. Works great.
Check it out. What streaming service is that on?
That is an Amazon Prime show, and all 4 seasons are up there right now.
I think the best part of the show is the guy that is barely intelligible.
Oh my God, yeah. There's no question. Yeah, he's
like an English Boomhauer.
He is. He's the most Midlander.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing. I will check out the subsequent seasons when I get a chance.
Please do. I think you'd enjoy them, and you deserve it. You work hard. Watch some Clarkson Farm. And with that, we will pick it up next week. We've got some exciting guests coming. We've got
do we? Oh man,
I'm going to be in the UK, so that'll be fun.
You're going to be looking at Land Rovers, aren't you?
Oh, I sure am. I got a whole host of Land Rovers to look at, and be hanging out with John Luke for a little bit, doing some stuff over there with him. Then maybe I'll be back in the spring. My offer is still open. If anybody needs help farming, happy to jump in there.
No one should take him up on that offer.
I have the simulator. I've been practicing. I feel pretty confident. So you just let me know what you need, and I will be there. So with that, I will see you next week.
All right. Best of luck. Take care.
The Underpowered Hour is produced by Liza Beres, Ike Goss, and me, Steve Beres. Pavel Svardov composed and performed our theme music. Consider supporting the show on Patreon, and if you already do, thank you. Your support makes the show possible. For even more, check out our Instagram or Facebook.